welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about the top 5 guys I want in the first round, at least at this point, January 23rd, 2025. And before we get into it, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, I've been sick the past few days, which is why the voice you're hearing now is not the voice you're normally used to hearing on this channel. And yeah, had a nasty fever, but got to go back to work tomorrow, so I'm going to, try to practice and see if I can mentally do this, so I think I will. But either way, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. My comment question of the day is, who is your biggest Broncos draft crush ever? I'll let you know mine. It was Jerry Jeudy in 2020, and unfortunately that didn't work out. But my other one was Baker Mayfield in 2018 because that was the first draft I really followed, and unfortunately he was not even available at our pick. But yeah, follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here, at Kodiak Broncos. Let's dive right into it. So, number one. The guy I want the Broncos to draft above everybody else who is potentially available for us and would slot in with our team needs and everything else is Tyler Warren. This guy would just open up our offense in so many ways. It would make our run game better by the fact that we could actually have an intermediate over-the-middle threat that defenses would have to respect. Like 2 tight end sets would no longer be a tell to the opposing defense that we were just running the football. And he's a rack monster. He's a complete size mismatch. I believe he's listed as 6'6", 240. We'll see how he tests at the combine, but he looks big. So I'm not concerned about the Penn State lying about their measurements or anything like that. And he's a very willing blocker. There's been a lot of discourse today on the timeline about whether or not he's a good blocker, but I think he is. I think, just some of the blocking highlights that he has, that just doesn't happen by accident, even if he is a little inconsistent with it. And, a year with Adam Troutman to learn the Sean Payton offense, that would do wonders for him. And his versatility, I think, round 1 tight end, we'll get into this. I don't think it's, great for a team that's trying to compete right away, but it will give him more of a floor as he learns the NFL and the position of the scheme, because he can be lined up out wide. He can be lined up at quarterback. He can be lined up in the backfield. And yeah, all these gimmicky plays are like whatever, but did we not see our head coach literally create the gimmick role and a player who's basically survived off it in New Orleans, and Taysom Hill, who has survived through multiple coaching changes and multiple quarterbacks having the role? I don't know. It just sounds pretty good to me. The idea of having a supercharged Taysom Hill brings me so much excitement to this brings me so much excitement for what he could bring to our offense. I don't think he would be as good of a runner because Taysom is a pretty special runner, but yeah. Tyler Warren would just do so much for us. My only qualm and the only downside is I don't think he's going to make it to our pick. He's more likely to rise at this point in the draft than fall. Like, I've seen him mocked in the top 10 a couple times, and now we're asking him to drop to pick 20. Going to be a pretty tough ask, especially because the Indianapolis Colts, who have had even more laughable production at the tight end position that we have over the past few years, are also going to be looking for a tight end, and I think that even though they have all their weapons there, and Pittman, Downs, JT, and, A.D. Mitchell, if you even want to throw them in there, it might not make complete sense, but hey, GM's going to GM. Number 2, Ashton Jeanty. So running backs and their values, they've kind of had a revival this past year. And yeah, you can't really build a team around one like you could in the old days, but either way, the idea of running backs not mattering is completely out the window. Now, if you had asked me 3 years ago what I thought about using a first-round pick on a running back, I would absolutely throw up. I would absolutely vomit because, you think about the teams that have been bad over the past few years. You think about the Giants, and they used the number 2 overall pick on Saquon Barkley, who we're seeing now is finally living up to being that once-in-a-generation talent he was billed as coming out. And listen, running back in the first round, it's about as safe as you can get. Prospect-wise, it's about as very I don't know how to describe this. It's not completely bust-proof like the Chiefs. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in round 1. But you're more than likely going to get a guy who has a lot of experience. You're more than likely getting a guy who has a lot of ability. And the other round 1 running backs I'm thinking of have been Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. So, yeah, while Bijan and Gibbs, they're probably worth their draft spots. I'm not going to say it still remains to be seen how the Falcons actually do within Bijan's rookie contract, but Najee Harris, he's been sort of Same with Travis Etienne throughout their 10 years for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Ashton Jeanty is probably, in my opinion, only behind Bijan as prospects ever since Saquon. came into the league. So discounting Saquon, I think it goes Bijan, Jeanty, Gibbs, and then Najee and Etienne as prospects. But either way, I kind of went on a little tangent there. So Sean Payton and George Payton, they have shown a propensity to use significant capital in the past on a running back. We traded up for Javonte Williams in 2021. 2011, Sean Payton went up for Mark Ingram. Actually, I don't know if he went up. He just drafted him. But either way, he used first-round capital on Mark Ingram. So this is something that both guys, they have done, even if there have been probably more pressing needs on the team. They have decided to go after running backs with early capital. Now, Bo Nix, he needs a super weapon. We are not going to get by with, these mid weapons or anything like that. We're not going to be able to compete with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens in the AFC with just a whole bunch of, whatever. So by drafting Ashton Jeanty, you are, putting a lot of faith in your offensive line, which, by the way, best offensive line in the league this year in run block win rate, according to ESPN. How much do I believe that? I'm not entirely sure. It felt like the run blocking wasn't too sound, but also our offensive line is good. I'm not sure about first in run block win rate good, but it is very good. And second, 11th in success rate, but 25th in yards per carry. So, and would have been 30th had you discounted all the quarterback runs. So discounting Bo Nix, our run game was putrid this past year. And if you had a guy like Ashton Jeanty, you immediately get your workhorse back. You immediately get a receiving threat out of the backfield. You immediately get a guy who is a threat to take it to the house literally every time he touches the ball. It doesn't matter if you think he's dead in the water. He has the most insane contact balance ever, like I've ever seen from a running back prospect. And listen, I know that I haven't really been following the NFL for that long and the draft for that long, but I like his contact balance better than Saquon when he was coming out. I like it better than Bijan. I like it better than all those other dudes who I had talked about previously. Most missed tackles forced ever in college football by a wide margin throughout a single year. And listen, good running backs, they're succeeding behind good offensive lines. So yes, while Jacobs, Henry, and Saquon have experienced a been a part of that, revitalization of the position, ultimately, it's not that difficult of a concept. Good running backs are succeeding behind good offensive lines. It's just kind of what's happening right now, and, we don't need to overcomplicate things. So, yeah, that's what I feel about Jeanty. Number 3, Emeka Egbuka. So, he is probably one of the best pure class individuals in this upcoming draft. Like, it was really emotional seeing him after they won the national championship and him knowing that he is now the Ohio State all-time leader in, I believe, receptions and receiving yards. So good on him for that. But he was emotional because you could tell that meant a lot to him. But it meant more to him that he was, they won the championship, and that was absolutely fantastic. By all accounts, anytime you look something up about him, everybody can't stop but, glow about his work ethic, glow about his character and stuff like that. And listen, he is not like a super freak. He's not a super athlete, nor is he a physical outside guy, but he is a pure technician. A lot of people are saying Amon-Ra St. Brown when it comes to Egbuka. I don't see that because I think part of Amon-Ra's game that makes him so much better than all the other power slots is how freakish he is, like how freakishly strong he is. I think he's more of a Keenan and a Kupp where he's just a pure technician at dissecting the defense and getting open. And even if he doesn't have the long speed, he can just burn you in so many ways in your intermediate passing game. And that is what we need. I talked about that with Tyler Warren. We need something in the intermediate passing game. And listen, Sutton and Egbuka would be a great placeholder combo until our long-term X is found. Is Sutton the long-term X? No. He's 30 years old. But until we can find that, whether it comes from within our own building, like if A.T. Perry somehow takes that jump, or which I'm not banking on, but, we can buy ourselves a little bit of time. And this would create a really healthy offensive ecosystem because now you have more guys to respect over the middle of the field. And do I think he's on the same level of guys like Garrett Wilson? Do I think he's on the same level of guys like Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr.? No, I don't. But he has been so productive that I don't think we can ignore it. I just simply don't think that we can ignore it, especially because he is probably going to play his entire time at Ohio State, not even being the best receiver on the football team, and he broke the receiving record. So yeah, would be very happy with that pickup. So number 4, Colston Loveland. I have no idea how guys like this are only 20 years old. So think about me. I'm 23 right now. So by the time Colston Loveland was I think, in 6th grade the last time the Broncos won the Super Bowl, which it is crazy to think about that there are people that young coming into the NFL who would absolutely tower over me. I'm 5'8". Colston Loveland, I think, is listed at 6'5", 250. I can only imagine. I don't know what they're feeding the 20-year-olds these days, but yeah. 2024 was really hard to get a gauge on because our offense, Michigan's offense, was absolutely anemic. The 2023 film from Colston Loveland was absolutely fantastic, but Michigan, without him, they probably have the worst passing ecosystem in the entire country. They averaged 47 passing yards a game, and you know what? Part of that is due to the fact that they were underprepared when Harbaugh left. Part of that was due to the fact that Harbaugh didn't really place a lot of emphasis on the passing game to begin with, especially with Corum and Edwards at Michigan. But Colston Loveland, he is a very good player. He is a very good receiving tight end. A lot of people are really praising him for his route running, and hey, I don't disagree. He's really, really strong in that regard. He's also a very willing blocker as well, same with Tyler Warren. Now, where do I differ between him and Tyler Warren? So I see him as more of a possession tight end, more of a guy who's gonna be like George Kittle. So I think he's more of like Zach Ertz, where he's gonna do something. He's gonna get open, but he is not going to do anything like super flashy with Yak. And here's where I differ between my thing on Loveland and all these other guys. So first round tight end is traditionally not something you want to be fishing in if you are a team that's ready to compete. There have been only 2 first round tight ends since 2017 that have had 1,000-yard seasons, and that was Brock Bowers this past year, obviously, and Kyle Pitts 3 years ago when he was in Atlanta. And only one of the 9 first-round tight ends since 2014 has gotten a second contract with the original team. So just based on all this, the hit rate for this position is not very good. And it's something I just don't think that as a team we are equipped to handle a guy like Colston Loveland, because the tight end position is so much more than just go out there and run routes. And with Tyler Warren, even if he doesn't know the playbook, even if he doesn't know the scheme as well as you would expect a guy like him to, maybe further down the road, like year 2, year 3, year 4, he still has that ability to line up anywhere. And I feel like since we've seen that role work with Sean Payton before, I feel like that's going to give Warren a lot of floor. Meanwhile, Loveland, we haven't seen that. And we have, Sean Payton talks about wanting to find a joker, and it very well could be possible that Colston Loveland is that guy. But listen, man, I'm just not convinced that it's what this team needs right now, because he is more of that traditional tight end. Warren is just like a one-of-one fit, I think, for our team. I think he fits our team like a glove, but once again, I don't think he's going to be there. But back to the discussion about draft capital, guys like David Njoku, TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Evan Ingram, they're good, but honestly, I don't think they've been worth the first-round draft positioning, especially because Njoku, sorry, I just spoiled my next one, but you took 5 years to break out with Joe Flacco. 6 years, actually. In the middle of his 6th season, he finally broke out while Joe Flacco was throwing him the football. Evan Ingram, same thing. It took him a really long time to finally hit his stride. They both kind of hit their stride at the same time, which was kind of fascinating to think about between Njoku and Ingram. But TJ Hawkinson was traded by Detroit to a division rival. And that's not to say that TJ Hawkinson is bad or anything like that, but as far as what you're looking for the 8th overall pick, you just want something more. Same with Noah Fant. If he was worth hanging on to, I don't think we would have sent him for Russell Wilson, but, he was kind of mid. Like, he played very, very small for what he was. I think he was like 6'4", 250. And listen, I like Noah Fant as a dude. I like him. I give him mile-high salute to him for all he gave to Broncos country, but his rookie year was his peak, and it just never got better from there. Now, I'm more confident in Warren's game day one being an impact player more so than Colston Loveland, because if Colston Loveland goes like 2 catches for 30 yards in our first game, I don't want to see everybody say, oh, he's a bust. Like, this is the process behind a first-round tight end. And that's why I kind of have Loveland behind all these guys, because this is a team that needs to open up their Super Bowl window right away. So, number 5, Luther Burden. He is a great yak guy. He will test very well athletically, and he's just a tough eval because of how many design touches he got behind the line of scrimmage. You think about a guy like Marvin Mims. This is basically the role that Mizzou had Luther Burden in. And he, once again, is an athletic freak, and he probably has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver in this draft not named Ted McMillan. But another reason why he's such a tough eval is because he suffered a pretty substantial production dip this year, and that was with no like major injury to speak of. And he actually got outproduced by a guy who I've seen, mocked a lot in day 3 mock drafts in Theo Weiss. So that's really interesting. I don't know how teams are going to weigh that come draft season, but the bet here is that you do not want 2 of the same dude with Marvin Mims and Luther Burden. That would just be a complete waste of resources, and you still don't solve the biggest problems throughout the offense. The bet here is that at least one of them can run intermediate routes within your offense. Don't care which one it is, but you don't need both of them. A lot of people have been saying that Burden is kind of like Debo, but like more polished as he was when Debo was coming out in 2019, and Debo took like 3 years, 3 years to really reach his peak in San Francisco. Granted, awesome peak, but a lot of people are thinking that Luther Burden can be that impact guy right away. Once again, will be extremely dangerous if he can reach his ceiling and take that next step. He has just insane rack ability, and he'll jump out the gym. He will blow you away with his 40-yard dash. But a big problem I see with his game is that there's just not much effort when he's not involved, and that's actually not something that I was able to see through my own eval, but it was something that I saw a lot of people on Twitter talk about that today. Like, there was a little mini compilation of him, kind of quitting or whatever. And listen, man, we don't really do that around here because we had done that with guys like Jerry Jeudy, and look where it got us. It got him a second contract with Cleveland, and it got us burned for 250 yards this past Monday night. You know what I'm saying. That might not happen if we take a guy like Luther Burden. I would be fine with taking Luther Burden, but honestly, I would prefer to trade back if we landed ourselves in this position. I don't think any of the running backs besides Jeanty would be worth the opportunity cost of not trading back here. Like Henderson, I like him. Caleb Johnson, I like him. Sampson, I like him. Neal, I like him. But I would not like them at number 20. Maybe go O-line, maybe go D-line, maybe find a safety. I don't know. But yeah, these are the 5 guys that I want the Broncos to draft at number 20 right now. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.